Hi, Nancy here, a gratefully recovering food addict. And today I think it's important to talk about is self-love selfish? So self-love is very important, I believe. I'd like to state what self-love isn't. Self-love is not a manicure, a spa treatment, buying yourself that very expensive pocketbook that you've been eyeing. Self-love does not come from outside sources. Self-love comes from inside. So retail therapy is not going to give us self-love. I have been in recovery 7.5 years now, and in the room 6.5 years. So back when I started in Overeaters Anonymous, after a while, before I was studying the big book, I decided, my sponsor decided that I would be able to sponsor people with food sponsor. So I started doing that, and that went a long way to helping lift my self-esteem. Before that, I was always beating myself up. I made promises to myself, to my family, to God, that I would be able to quit my addiction, and I broke a million promises, and I had gone down the scales pretty far, not thinking much of myself. So the self-esteem part was great. The big book is all about the 12th step, and that is helping others, and it is a lifesaver and very important, and I recommend it. If you think you might have something that you can give someone else, do it, because you'll get much more back in return. So that's being said, my self-esteem was rising, and so I thought, well, that I'm good. Self-love, self-esteem, same thing. But not so. About 1.5 years ago, I had a personal situation that disappointment, or whatever you want to call it, that brought me to my knees, and I reverted back to the old days, real old days, when I was a child, and was feeling really worthless, helpless, really bad about myself, not worthy, not worthy of happiness, that I was wrong or bad somehow. So that was a big wake-up call for me, that I needed more work to be done. This recovery stuff is wonderful. They talk about the peeling of the onion. You think you've got something, that you've worked through something, which you have, progress, but there's still more. There's always more. And it seems like God doesn't throw it on the plate all at once. It's meted out as we can handle it, step by step. So I knew I had work to be done, and I usually turn to YouTube self-help videos. So I was listening to self-love videos, and using guided guided meditation videos, and even some overnight ones, subconsciously, where you're sleeping, and I think they were helpful. Also, I was reading a couple of Teal Swan's books. The one I have is The Completion Process by Teal Swan. the practice of putting yourself back together again. I found it very helpful. And also, I don't have the book with me today. I believe I've lent it out to a friend, sponsee, or someone. And her other book that I would recommend is Shadows Before Dawn, Finding the Light of Self-Love. And in that, it's a great book. In that book, she has not worksheets, but things that you can read out in your journal, and things to work on to help improve your self-love. And one thing that I gleaned from her books was she asked the question, what would someone who loves themselves do? I just think it's brilliant. I put it on my, put that little saying on my computer and looked at it several times a day. So if you're faced with a decision, you can think of a person that you admire that loves themselves, seems to love themselves, or a fantasy person, and just step back and think, what would a person that loves themselves do in this situation? What decision would they make? And I think that's very helpful, very helpful. And another part is the inner child work. Now, I always thought that was a bunch of hooey, but in my research, it started to make sense, because you have this inner child that possibly was neglected, bullied, abused. I'm not talking about I'm just talking generally, not talking about my own story. That just was never healed and never helped and never nurtured. And now we're grown and adults, and we know how we can help a child. Just think of a baby, how it's just so easy to love a baby and a child. I listened to some videos that help you, like in a meditation, that help you picture the child, and maybe sitting on your lap and you're hugging the child and comforting the child and telling the child that you'll take care of them, you'll always take care of them, you'll always be there for them. Things that we may not have heard back in the day. I know when I talk about embracing the child, I remember when my own daughter was young, and I'd rock her in the rocking chair, and it was very therapeutic for me. It was very soothing for me to nurture my own child. But I guess that wasn't enough. I need to nurture my inner child as well. And I think as addicts, we really are comfort-seeking missiles, trying to find comfort in all the wrong places. But in recovery, we need to stay away from our addictive substances. So we need to shift things around. That's obvious. And also Teal, in her book, also talked about how we protect our heart. At the time, being around 61 years, you get roughed up a little bit. Your heart gets roughed up a little bit. You have a broken heart a few times, and people don't maybe treat you in the way that you really should be treated. Oh, so you need what you need instead of closing in and protecting your heart, you need to open it up. You need to take the wall down, open the gates. And I have found that to be a beautiful thing. Now I'm a love-seeking missile, not a comfort-seeking missile. I find comfort in loving others and my self-love. So how do we go about that? Well, nature is a great healer. You can see God in all of nature. If you can, get outside as much as possible. Just look at the trees and the sunlight, the leaves glistening in the sunlight. It's just a gorgeous thing. Take a deep breath and just enjoy it. Maybe watch a squirrel scurrying around, preparing his or her nest for the winter, gathering food supplies for the winter. Just the beauty of a butterfly, the grace and dignity. And I want to say that self-love is not selfish, because we all have a spark of God inside of us. And to love ourselves is to love God. And that's not a selfish thing. And my journey of self-love has just been a beautiful thing. In my the place where I worship, I'm fairly new there, and people have been very kind and welcoming and friendly towards me. And at the end of the service, we go around, introduce ourselves, and have announcements or whatever. And I just was looking around and thinking, I really love that person. I mean, I truly love that person. And that one, I love that. I love them all. They're just beautiful people. And if I radiate love for others, guess what? Love comes in back to me. If I'm, angry and fearful and resentful, that's what I project out, and that's what I'll get back. Meditation is really important to my self-love journey. It's a way of getting serenity. In the beginning, several years ago, when I was just beginning, I would go on a site, Calm, CALM.com, and it was free at the time. You can also get a subscription. And they would have even 1-minute guided meditations. And that's where I started with the 1 minute. Well, I could do a minute, because long-timers in AA were telling me how important meditation is, that constant contact with God, prayer and meditation. Prayer is talking to God. Meditation is listening for that still small voice. We don't always hear it, but if we're quiet, we do understand what God wants from us, what God has in store for us, and it's always a beautiful thing. So meditation. So I started off with the 1 minute, went to 5 minutes, 15 minutes, and now I belong to two organizations that are meditative. So I spend at least 2 hours a week in meditate, an hour each day. But on the average day, I'm not perfect. I have an intention to have a meditation practice every day. Not always, I'm a work in progress. But you can't always do it every day. But most days I have a meditation practice, and it's usually 15 to 20 minutes. Nearby to me there is a meditation room, and it's nice for me to go there because kind of Pavlov, you just kind of fall into it, and it's a beautiful thing. So I highly recommend meditation. As I sometimes say, meditation is my medication. I'm no longer on anxiety medication, and I think meditation has gone a long way for that, and to nurturing myself. So what do we do? Well, as I said, I think the self-love piece is an inside job. So being out in nature is a great thing. Nurturing the child. How have I nurtured my inner child? Well, when I was a kid, I don't remember having that much fun when I was a kid. I'm a very serious person, I guess. So, but I do remember I really enjoyed swinging on the swing set. So I thought that would be, a really nice thing to do for my. I talked to her, what would make you happy? What would you like to do? It's kind of awkward for a 62-year-old woman to go to the playground without a child in tow to swing on the swings. So I was house sitting for a friend, and she had a swing set in the backyard. Her kids are in high school and college, so it's kind of a neglected little swing set out back, and but her yard was all treed in, so it was private. So I went out there and did some swinging, and it was lots of fun. It was a gorgeous crisp autumn day, nice clean air breathing in, and I was just enjoying the swinging, and it was a lovely thing to do. As I said, I used Inner Child guided meditation found on YouTube, and nurturing that inner child is nurturing yourself and helping with the self-love. As I said, my heart is just open wide, and I was really a little nervous about that at first, to let down my my guard, but it's been a beautiful thing. For example, the other day I was stopped at a stop sign, and a fire truck went by all loaded with firemen, and it didn't seem like they were going to an emergency. It seemed like they were just going back to their station, and I got really kind of choked up. Here they are, they're angels. They are just angels. They're these young men, beautiful. They're driving down the road, and they're all looking around, see what they can see, and they're just angels. They dedicate themselves to helping people and going where they're needed, and it just filled my heart, and that's the kind of joy I find in the small things now. It's not a designer pocketbook. It comes from inside. I think that's all I have to say on the subject for now, and okay. So self-love is following your food plan. Self-love is eating healthy foods that God made, and eating at the right times in the right amounts, and getting the sleep you need. I usually at this age, I get up like at 4 a.m. For a little while before I go back to sleep. So I kind of plan that. I go to bed at 10, and get up at 7. And so I have an hour. I'm in bed 9 hours, but I get 8 hours sleep. I'm up at 4 usually and watch a video or something till I fall back asleep. And if I have a worse night's sleep, I still get up at the same time in the morning and figure I'll catch up, and I always do, and I'll just sleep better the next night. And if I have a little meditation in the afternoon, that will give me another bit of energy. They say that 20 minutes of meditation is like 8 hours of rest, not sleep, but rest. And I always do feel great after a little meditation. And of course, exercise. It's great to move the body, go outside, take a walk. It doesn't have to be strenuous. It needs to be something that you enjoy, or you won't practice it. Something that doesn't hurt you. You won't go to the gym again if you go one day and then you're crippled for 2 weeks. So do something that you enjoy doing, something maybe that you did when you were a child that you enjoy doing. Your inner child would really enjoy that. If you can't think of an exercise you like, just put on Pandora or something, the music of when you were a teenager. Just dance it out. Dance around your kitchen while you're preparing vegetables or cleaning up, or just for the joy of it. That's what we're here for, to have fun, to find the joy in life, to find the love. That's what God wants for us. So take good care of yourself. Self-love is not selfish at all. It's spreading your love, vibrating out to others. Oh, yeah, one other thing I do for myself, I don't watch the news, okay? I don't watch the news. I started that a few years ago, and it really has helped my mental health and my happiness. It's not that I have my head in the sand. I'm not in denial. I, catch things on YouTube. I kind of get a gist of the headlines. I don't usually watch videos on the news. I hear about it from people that I interact with, and I also listen to National Public Radio in the car, and so I'm updated on the most important things. And even on the radio, if they start in on a subject that they delve into that kind of just hurts my soul, I change the channel, listen to some music. This 24-hour news, we don't even need to have an hour of news a day. It's soul-sucking. Speaking of soul-sucking, if you have to drag yourself out of bed to go to a job that you dread, can't stand, your coworkers are soul-sucking, in their disease, or just hard people to be around, polish up your resume. Maybe take a night class. Think about what you'd really love to do. Something that would really fill your heart, fill your soul. Don't be stuck. Don't be stuck. Even if you have to make a little less money, it's worth it not to have a soul-sucking job. You're the boss of you now, and it's your job to find happiness, and it's only good for recovery. The happier we are, the easier recovery is, isn't it? Yeah, that's how it works. So find what makes you happy. Find what makes the inner child happy, and your love will grow and grow for yourself and for others. And some people say you have to love yourself before you can love anyone else. I don't know. I feel like I've always loved, loved my family, loved people. but I know I have a much greater capacity for love now that that I feel God's love, and the rooms are a beautiful thing. Oh, another thing for finding self-love, when you kind of have hit a trouble spot, talk to people. I go to a women's Al-Anon group and share there, and God bless them. You know, they give you unconditional love until you can love yourself. And if you have a pet, a dog, oh my goodness, that dog loves you so much. Don't take it out just to do its business. Take it out to have fun. Take it to the park. Take your dog to the beach. You know, nurture that dog. That dog loves you so much. So I think I've gone on long enough. So God bless, and I love you. Take care.